Hey, everybody, welcome to this week's episode of Real to Real Talk. I am Sergio Barrera, and it's time once again to talk all things movies. Paul Britton is here, as always. Paul, this is going to be an exciting episode.
Yeah! John Wick!
I feel like you're hyped.
Are you kidding me?
Like
We're just going to talk about John Wick.
Yeah, absolutely. Our focus tonight is going to be the John Wick franchise, as we are going to discuss all 4 installments to include our review of John Wick Chapter 4. And right from the outset, Paul, I think it would be fair for us to say that we're probably going to spoil today. Maybe not too much.
We're spoiling the first 3. We're spoiling the hell out of the first 3. Like if you've not seen any of them and you don't care, then you're in the right place.
Right.
If you do care, you're in the wrong place. If you've seen all 3 and haven't watched, I think you'll be okay. We'll try to avoid any major stuff for 4.
Yeah, it's going to be difficult, but
it'll be difficult. But major stuff.
Right.
Like I think there's a lot of little things that we can talk about that won't be like, oh my God, you ruined the movie for me. You know,
absolutely.
Look, bottom line is we can't ruin this movie for you because you're just going for the set pieces, and there's nothing we could say that would make you like, oh well, now I don't need to go see the movie. That's just the reality.
No. You're gonna need to go see it. And listen, right from the outset, I will say this: don't let the runtime keep you from seeing John Wick Chapter 4. You don't feel it.
Although I do want to say there's a stinger. There's a post-credit scene.
Yes, there is.
I had no idea. I didn't find out until after. And there needs to be a rule: if your movie is 2.5 hours long or longer, you don't get to do a post-credit scene. I was. You're 100% right. I wasn't feeling it until like the last 3 minutes. I was like, oh my God, I really have to go to the bathroom. So I bolted and I missed the end. So.
And gosh, you almost can't say more about the post-credit scene without ruining stuff. So we have to tread carefully. So, but before we even get into John Wick Chapter 4, we're gonna spend time today talking about this franchise because. Rare is the franchise, and Paul, we're probably going to disagree on this point. I think maybe not. Who knows? Let's find out. For me, Rare is the franchise that gets better installment to installment.
Interesting. Okay.
When we think about, and this is what we have to have this moment, Paul, we look at movies differently, right? Sure. We both love good action movies with big set pieces.
100%.
Right.
Yes.
But there was something for me about this franchise that as I headed into Chapter 4, I thought, man, can this live up to the love that I have for this franchise? Because I rewatched all 3 films.
As did I.
In the 2 days leading up to me going to see it on Sunday.
I did it over like a 2-week period because I needed to get my son up to date because he hadn't seen any of them. Yeah. And I wanted him to come to see 4 with me. So
I purposefully did it that close to my seeing it because I wanted everything fresh because it is very story rich to some degree as you get into 2 and 3.
It's less story rich and more world rich. Like you gotta understand what's going on in the world.
Yeah. The scope of it gets bigger and bigger and that's part of why I feel like it gets better every episode or every chapter.
That's fine.
So, because if there is one thing that's consistent, and it could be said to be a flaw in the films, is the action pieces are pretty repetitive overall, with some unique twists. The 4th installment did some amazing things with cars.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean,
and camera work.
And we're gonna get there.
4
because
broke me.
It broke rules. Like
it broke me during one scene. It was just like,
okay. I know what you're gonna say. So let's not jump there yet. Okay, because I'm very excited to talk about this. I can talk about John Wick Chapter 4 without spoiling it.
Right.
Only if we were to only talk about some of the production decisions that were made, and
that doesn't spoil anything. That's not a spoiler.
Lord, what an amazing. Anyway, Chapter 1.
Yeah.
John Wick.
Yeah.
I avoided this movie.
Yep, me too.
I had no interest whatsoever, and I'm a Keanu fan. Okay.
Yeah.
And whenever it was that I finally decided to watch John Wick, boy, you talk about getting drawn in the first 10 minutes of a movie, right?
Yep.
It presents us this compelling story of, it's an age-old action movie trope. Assassin makes good, and of course it can't stay good. And yet it turned it on its ear because of I think chapter 1 was all about the action. Because the story was there's a story.
Yeah.
But I mean, come on. It's a revenge flick.
Chapter 1 is a pure revenge flick. That's all it is. It is nothing more. It is nothing less. Right. There is a little bit of world the proto idea of an entire world is planted here.
Right. Which is unique because it was never intended at its inception to be a franchise. Okay. This was supposed to be a standalone film.
Sure. I believe that because they have really cool ideas, but none of them are, and they didn't have to be. Let's just be fair to the thing. It was a fantastic first movie, and if they had never made another one, everybody would be like, "Oh, that was really freaking cool." I love this movie, and I will watch it regularly, and it will be beloved to me for always.
Right? Yeah. I loved the set piece of this film. This was pre-Hotel Artemis. I think Hotel Artemis took this idea of the Continental and created its own world.
I don't know what Hotel Artemis is. So
I thought we reviewed it together.
Did we?
Yeah, we did.
Oh yeah, you're right. You're right. Yes.
So when I went back, I thought, wait, hold on, let me look at the time. Okay, this was pre-Hotel Artemis.
Yes.
But the lovely thing about this first film was, after a very, very rough first 10 minutes, dog lover, was the set piece of the hotel, the nature of the characters, Ian McShane, Lance Reddick, rest in peace, and oh man, chapter 4. This film, John Wick, was not just exciting, it was like you wanted to know more about this world.
Right.
And you knew that we were only scratching the surface. But it would have been okay even if it had just ended there.
Yeah, I don't know that we knew it was only scratching the surface. We knew that there was something going on. That there was an underground world that we weren't privy to.
Sure.
And I think the interesting thing became, as we got into 2, it was like, oh, no. It's not an underground world that you're not privy to. It's the wide open, basically the movers and shakers of the entire world. And if you're not in on, what they're doing, you're asleep. You're sleepwalking. Sure. It's just like, it almost is like the world that they make with what's that horrible Arnold Schwarzenegger movie that we reviewed that is horrible.
It could be several.
We made Susan watch it.
Oh my goodness.
With the movie ticket and
The Last Action Hero.
Yeah. It's like The Last Action Hero, except serious and not ridiculous. It's like, just everybody's daily life is, there's more murder and insanity going on outside. And that's just what it, it's just like, okay.
Yeah. But by the time this movie is over, you sit there and you go, okay, all right, Keanu Reeves still does the action stuff well.
Yeah.
He's sometimes he's at his best when he has very little dialogue.
Yeah.
There's just something about how he carries a scene physically.
Yes.
And this is a guy who, listen, after you're done with 3 Matrix movies, with no thought to a 4th one when this movie comes out, right, you're probably looking for something. Right.
Yeah.
And he finds himself in a character that becomes beloved, and that again, after that first initial film and its response financially, we get the franchise. And so I have to ask you, Keanu Reeves, John Wick 1, what are your thoughts in terms of what he brings? Is it just action Keanu?
Well, no, I mean, so the good thing about this character is it comes to Keanu when he's a little older. I don't think this is something that Keanu in 1999 would be able to do as effectively. I think he needed a decade plus to just be like, yes, this is who I am. This is, I can say a lot with I have emotional depth.
Yeah.
And for real, and not like just like, whoa, it's like I have emotional depth, and people have gotten to know me over the past 15 years, and this is what I have to offer, and I'm just going to put it on the screen for you, and you already know. And I think that's really important to this character. You need somebody like a Jason Statham could probably pull it off too, because he has that sort of like that gruff demeanor as well, where there's depth, with just the Wrath of Man is a good comparable, where it's and clearly the Wrath of Man doesn't happen without John Wick. So let's just so
absolutely,
because that it's basically John Wick anyway, but it's that Keanu owns this role, and I think if you put just about anybody else in the role, it's a totally different thing. Probably still works, but it's different, and I think that those sequels aren't remotely as interesting,
right?
And I think that's where Keanu's ability to really give emotional depth without a lot of dialogue, it comes into play and is a huge benefit. Like other classic actors that do this, Robert De Niro is classic. Like I'm not gonna actually say this line. I'm just this is not a necessary line. I'm just going to look, and it's like, okay, and that's a lot of times that's enough, and and that's what Keanu has at this point.
Yeah, and of course he carries that gravitas that he brings to these roles that we're so familiar with him, doing now and doing over several films. That was one of the things that I know when the final Matrix movie came out, I felt like there was something missing. I think there was a lot of issues with that movie, but there was something in his.
You can go back 3 years ago if you want to know our thoughts on
but with this franchise, when you put this many films together and you can maintain the character and even grow it a bit, and keep it fresh and interesting, I mean, kudos to him. He obviously enjoyed his time. He's enjoyed making these movies, and we'll see what happens next. But so we get then to John Wick 2, Chapter 2.
Yes.
And now the world starts to grow.
This is where they start to world build.
Really, this is the world building.
Yeah. And I love this movie. Like that. So when I sit down and think about, all right, what's your ranking? It's my favorite is either 2 or 1. And I probably, usually it's 2. More often than not, it's 2. Sometimes I'll think about the simplicity of 1 and just be attracted to that. But 2 does the best combination of world building and actually moving a story forward.
Right.
I think, and foreshadowing a little bit, I don't think that 3 and 4 are quite as successful in the world building and moving a story forward.
Right.
Whereas, it's interesting. One of the key lines from Ian McShane's character is, there are consequences, or themes. I don't know. I don't remember exactly how he says it, but everything you do, there's a consequence, and that's a really interesting thing about this world that they exist in is everything has consequences, and you get a bit of that in the first movie, with the one female assassin that actually tries to do business on continental grounds. There's consequences to that, and we see what those consequences are. And then in 2, it's just you find out some of these consequences are really, really long term. Like they're and even you there, and that's why the backstory prior to 1 gains so much depth in 2, because you really get to the idea of, wow, it was really a big deal for him to get out.
Exactly. Yeah. And at the conclusion of 1, you don't find yourself wondering what all that was. In 2, it puts you right. They put it right in your face with the introduction of the Stefano D'Antonio character.
Yeah.
Who, and it's the details, man. Are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay.
Dag nabbit, I'm connected to the wrong Wi-Fi thing. I got to remember to change the Wi-Fi before. Okay, I'm sorry.
Well,
do we want to
have? Hold on. I think I'm also. I still have you.
Okay.
I know I lost my briefly too.
You're gonna lose me for like 5 seconds because I'm gonna change over to the Wi-Fi that I'm closer to.
Go for it.
Hello?
I'm here. We're gonna pause for just a second for
I'm back.
Hey, there you are. All right.
Yeah, cool. And you will not lose me this time. I am back. I'm back for.
Well, I got a prompt as well, so don't feel bad because I was like, "Whoa!" And it's hilarious because it says you're no longer connected to the internet, and I was like, "I am hardwired in." So,
yeah, that's not possible. But I, however, am aware that my spouse will take the computer into our bedroom, and we have one of those like extensions, to get to our bedroom, so we get good Wi-Fi in our bedroom.
Yes.
And the computer, like if I take it from the bedroom into my office here where I do anyway, let's get back to John Wick 2.
So no, I was saying that John Wick Chapter 2 not only does it world build, but it does it in big fashion. Like the markers are these really intricate coins, and all the details of the you start to learn about the high table, you start to learn about the Kimura, the Elder, and all this other stuff. And
Larry Fishburne comes in.
Huh?
We get the Larry Fishburne. We find out that the world extends beyond, which is my favorite aspect of this world, by the way, is that it extends beyond just like people wearing suits. It's like, no, actually there's an underworld, like literal. And
no, and this is where one of the points I was going to make was your character of Winston, played by Ian McShane. It bothered me that they mispronounced Charon, but Charon as they called him. In John Wick, those two characters were merely points of progress.
Mm-hmm.
Now we get to know Winston. We get to meet the Bowery King. We get to know these characters because they become integral to the story.
Yep.
And we learn much more about how John Wick, there was a price he paid to gain what he viewed as his freedom.
Right.
And it comes back. And that's the story of John Wick 2. I really love because it avoids it just being another shoot 'em up.
Right.
Because John Wick 2 also introduces us to the massive headshots that will now become an integral part of this series.
Correct.
Just like, crazy car races is the Fast and Furious. John Wick is how many headshots can we fit into the movie?
It's interesting because I ask you a question. Does the bulletproof suit
I'm glad this is coming
ruin a little bit of the world?
Well, when we get to 4, we can talk about it now because I think by then the point will have come up more than once. The bulletproof suit is a great idea.
Yeah.
Except it exposes your mind to then go, these are really bad shots. Like the people who are firing these guns.
Why even bother?
Aim for the head.
Yeah, like it's. I will say, like in 2, when I was watching 2, I was like, oh, bulletproof suit, that's really freaking cool. And then while I'm watching 3, I'm like, bulletproof suit.
Oh, but man, how much more of an issue then does it become in 4?
It becomes a much bigger issue.
Yeah.
And it just it's like I wish they had introduced bulletproof suits. I did that. Yeah. I'm gonna be honest, like, and I understand like the incredulity that you have to believe that John Wick can survive all these things and everybody's this terrible of a shot goes beyond incredulity. But I'd rather have that incredulity than like everybody shooting at everybody and nobody doing anything, because there's literally like, this is it. This is all that's vulnerable to me, unless my suit jacket happens to fly out, and then you can maybe.
And then there is something to be said for how the action in 2 is probably about ×5 from 1,
right?
And how that, by the time you get to 4, you can see how those who are involved in this project or this franchise have finally figured out the pacing of what this should all look like, because they completely rely upon the audience to shut down any sort of realism in their mindset, and just immerse yourself. And this movie really, starts to go all in on these elements of action.
And it's interesting because could you imagine just not having seen 1 and 2 and jumping into 3?
Oh, no.
You couldn't do it.
No way.
Because of bulletproof suits.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
You have to have somebody explain to you, because they don't go back and explain bulletproof suits again in 3. It's just, it's like, look, if you miss 2 and don't know that there are bulletproof suits, good. Well, sorry, you know.
And it's because 2 has that amazing montage scene, with the sommelier and the tailor and
that is one of the best.
You need that,
and that's why I love 2. That's the kind of world building that 2 does. That is amazing, and they take the time to explain it, and it's immersive, and it all makes sense, and it has it moves. It moves everything forward,
right?
And that's, and just again, spoiler alert, that's kind of what I feel was missing in 3 and 4, where there's still world building, but I never felt like any of the world building moved anything forward further along than where we were already.
I think part of it, I get what you're saying. I think part of it is that 2 really, I think what happens is by 2, that his wish is to be out.
Right.
And now we're stuck in this cycle of like, what's keeping him from getting there? In 2, it's but you have a marker you need to fulfill. And now you're being chased because you did it.
You fucked up. Like in 2, you did something really stupid at the end of 2.
At the end of the film.
I love. Mm-hmm. Okay. Like, don't get me wrong. I get it. This is a stupid decision that he makes that I get, that it's like, okay, I see what you've done and why you're doing this. And now, okay, 3 is about how do you fix that?
The consequences.
Consequences. And yes. And then it becomes, anyway. So, but these are the things that I love about 2. The world building, the you finally get the idea of what the consequences of John Wick coming back are fully, not just, it's just, it's so immersive, and it builds, it really builds such an amazing foundation for 3 and 4. Is really what 2 builds such a strong foundation.
That by the time you get to the final scene of the film, where you see the whole excommunicado thing happen, okay, well, I need a 3 now, right? When you get to that point, I remember walking into John Wick Chapter 3 Parabellum thinking, oh, this will be a trilogy. Okay.
Yeah.
And so we jump into John Wick Chapter 3. And now it's like, okay, well, this now has to be the biggest set piece possible, because every assassin in the world, one of the best scenes of 2 is when Winston stops everybody and he realizes, oh shit, they're already here.
Yeah.
When he gives them an hour.
Right.
So now, how do you keep chapter 3 from becoming? The question poses itself again: how do you make this not become just a 2-hour shoot 'em up?
Right.
Well, what you do is you introduce new characters.
Yeah.
One of my absolute favorite characters, and I don't think I'm spoiling anything by saying this, that doesn't appear in chapter 4, which was disappointing to me, is the Adjudicator.
Yes, the Adjudicator is awesome. The
Amazing
Adjudicator
character.
I wish that had been the driving force of everything that happens in 3.
Yeah.
And I say that because there is a second act in 3 that does not move and this is the problem. The second act of 3 doesn't move the movie forward at all, because
explain, because I'm curious how you mean that.
Sure. So he goes to Casablanca. Cool. Awesome. We're going to Casablanca. Hey, we meet Halle Berry. I fucking love Halle Berry, and she's fantastic in this movie. And she has awesome dogs.
Armored dogs, yeah.
Right. And we find out that he has a marker on her. But he's the problem. So right here there's a problem. Because he's already excommunicado. And it's obvious. Anybody would know. If you're like it's pretty easy to assume that if you're excommunicado, all markers, it's done. It's done.
They do kind of hint at that.
The fact that they hint at that tells you, what is she doing?
The movie could have ended there.
But he has to know that the marker that he has is no good.
It's worthless. Yeah,
it's worthless, and so. What Halle Berry does is meaningless and pointless, and she doesn't have to do it. And John Wick pulling her in like this is meaningless and pointless, and he doesn't have to do it. And he ruins her life. Okay, completely ruins her life. Even though, so the marker that he has was to make her life better. Yes, because he was able to help her get her daughter out.
Right.
But that's fine. Let's figure something else out. Like there's got to be something, and then we get to we finally get. There's an extra scene in there that is again extra. Like there's an extra scene that's extra. It's like, okay, so we're getting to see where they make the coins. Mildly cool. I kind of like that. That scene is completely meaningless. Like there's just no point for it whatsoever.
It's an action piece for the dogs.
It's an action piece for that's it. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. The way you do this movie is you have him go to Halle Berry, and the way she gets the marker is she's the one that tells him how to go find the elder. Okay. Yeah. That's it. That end of everything. We know Halle Berry's badass. We don't need, as much as I enjoy seeing Halle Berry kick ass and the dogs kick ass, it's not actually necessary. No. And you can probably make the argument that her life isn't ruined now. Right. Maybe have a scene with the Adjudicator shows up with her and like she has some consequences, but not as much, Anyway, whatever. we go to the elder, okay? And he commits himself again.
Yeah.
But he has to know by committing himself, he's going to have to do something that he will not do.
Right.
So why is he there?
Well, I don't know that he went in thinking that was going to be the price. Right. Again, stupid. You have to stretch your believability.
He has shown himself to be far too smart to be going to this guy that is the elder, who, by the way, is younger than Keanu Reeves, and he's the elder.
We need to talk about that. Can we rabbit trail for just 1 second?
Yes.
Just one question.
Yeah.
When you get to the elder and you see who it is, no disrespect to the actor, he's a bit actor in several things. You see him again, like I always say, he's like, oh, it's that guy.
Yeah.
No. So miscast.
Like,
so miscast.
You have to put somebody huge there.
Big time.
Judi Dench needs to be the elder.
Yeah.
If Judi Dench can come in and do Cats, Judi Dench can take 5 minutes and do John Wick.
Yeah, this needed to be someone huge, and
it had to be.
And listen, how do I say this? I need to be careful. The costuming was bad. Everything about it's like I feel like they prepped something for someone different, but they had to settle for this guy.
Yeah, like Omar Sharif just turned out to not be around, and
he probably he's gun shy now because of freaking 13th Warrior, but he would have been a great elder.
13, Omar Sharif,
yeah,
Dench, you know,
oh man, the list goes on.
Anybody, but somebody. It's got to be somebody.
It had, and it still bothered me the second time around. I'm like,
and then
I forgot about this.
And it's like, you know, he's not going to kill Winston. Like, you know, he's not going to, and you know, and he had to know that whatever they gave him to do was going to be shit and sucky, and he's not going to want to do it.
Yeah.
So that's my problem with 3. What's that?
I can forgive it. You know,
that's fine.
Yeah.
Except, and if that had been it, I could forgive it.
Mm-hmm.
But the fact that there was a whole extra scene in there that was completely unnecessary and fluff, it really slows 3 down. And it's like it's a part that you don't have in 1 and you don't have in 2. The wonderful thing that I love about 1 and 2 is that everything has a consequence and everything moves everything forward. And in 3 you have this entire second act that moves, that you literally, you at the end of Act 2, you're in the exact same spot that you were at the beginning of Act 2, minus 1 finger. That's it. That's it. There's absolutely nothing has changed other than Keanu Reeves doesn't have a finger anymore.
Yeah.
And it's like, really? And it's not even like you don't know that he's nowhere other than where he already was at the start of Act 2. Like, it's literally like perfect example. Angelica Houston is a fucking amazing in this movie. Like, can we just give a huge shout out to Angelica Houston?
Oh, man.
How do you have Angelica Houston to play the character that she plays, and then you don't have somebody huge play the elder? I mean, come on.
Maybe that's where the budget went.
I don't care. Bust it open, because the 1 and 2 made you a fucking shitload of money. You can dump a little into getting Omar Sharif for 2 minutes. But
and then having to justify it in 4 when you couldn't get the same guy.
So you're previewing my problem with 4. But
okay, well, we're almost there.
Yeah.
But the thing I couldn't forgive 3 for, was it ends with you're making me wait for 1 more. You know, and you heard me make the joke. I'm at an age now where you're going to make me eat healthy for a little longer to wait for the next installment. You know, I wanted it to be a trilogy, but I'm not disappointed that it wasn't. Now that we've seen Chapter 4, so
sure.
I
by the
completely
way,
understand your feeling on 3.
I need to stress, I love 1, I love 2, I love 3. 3 for me is clearly after 1, 2, and 3. 3 for me was clearly number 3. Like they're like 1 and 2 are like, and then 3 is just like down here, like, hey, I'm really good too. And I was like, yes, 3, you are really good too. I'm talking to 1 and 2 right now. You know,
I love it. No, I get it. I get it. And it is one of the ones where it was more about set pieces than anything else. It was about the horse. You know, it was about the dogs and all these other, because you keep having to ramp up the action, because that is what this franchise is truly about. Yes. Which brings us to John Wick Chapter 4. So now you're coming into this movie, you're seeing the trailers, and you're going, okay, don't let me down. There has to be a payoff, especially if you're going to want me to continue after this installment. And so, you know, we get a very strange introduction to a new villain. And it's like, that's kind of for me where I'm like, oh, okay.
Okay.
I don't hate this film. I enjoyed it. I loved it because I'm an action movie fan.
Yeah.
But if I dig deeper, if I scratch just a little bit, there are some flaws with this movie.
Sure. And so if you didn't pick up on my displeasure with Act 2 of Chapter 3, not a surprise that I'm not a huge fan of the first 20 minutes of Chapter 4.
Oh gosh, I'm so like, what just happened?
And it like, so you know, spoiler alert, hashtag. He ends up back in Casablanca, and it's very jarring, and it's very weird why. And like, so all the interviews I've heard leading up to 4 was from the director Chad Stahelski. Was he and Keanu were talking this, and Keanu said, I want to do a scene on a horse, and like Lawrence Arabia, and I just want to be on a horse. And dude, you were just on a horse in 3. Like, does nobody remember that he was on a horse in 3? Like, don't tell me that whole opening, which just completely, like, if you didn't already minimize the importance of the Elder in the 3rd movie by Keanu just completely ignoring everything that happened with the Elder, like it's like the Elder is just probably the least important and intriguing and powerful person in this entire universe, because John Wick just rides in on a horse and there is absolutely nobody anywhere near the Elder protecting him, stopping him. Like, he's just way out in the open in the middle of the desert. It's just like, oh sure, come on, John Wick. What's up, boy? Yeah, I know. I'm not the same dude.
I'm not the same dude.
Yeah. I am still the Elder though. It's just like,
yeah, that was one of the very first things that for me, I was like, okay, I can forgive it. I keep going. because what did you before we get instantly. Before we get to that scene, we have the Bowery King once again making. There's this sort of grand entrance to the film where, we know that at the end of the film he had been shot several times. He ends up in the in the Bowery King's world when the film ends. So we know that's where he is, those of us who've been watching the movies. And you get this really cool opening. Lawrence Fishburne has some great lines, and there's a visual with him, matrixing a piece of wood. And then we get that scene, and I'm like, oh, like, it was such a cool setup. And then you're in the desert again with horses, and you kill a character. Like,
And we're back in a place. And by the way, where you were before the scene in the desert, guess what? Exactly in the exact same spot where you were at the end of the desert. And that's the other. It's like every time he goes to the desert, like, it's just a scene to film in the desert, and it doesn't really take anything anywhere.
Right. I think they're trying to give this like so much scope and grandeur, but it's like, no, this franchise works best in close quarters when things are just going to shit all around you, and you can let the action move the narrative. Like, you don't have to get these grand set pieces, especially when you can't get actors. You had a second chance to cast the Elder.
Yeah. And you could have explained it away by saying, that last guy that you met wasn't really the Elder. I'm actually the Elder. Like, there's a lot of different things that you can do, and what they did was like the least interesting of all the possible things that you could do.
Yeah. We have a comment. Dear friend Juan Gonzalez, host of the Con Culture podcast, says, I don't know what this 4th movie was thinking. It got very gimmicky. Him walking off a multiple story drop was my I'm out point.
Well, I mean, he ends the 4th movie with a even taller multiple story.
Yeah, exactly. This franchise loves throwing him all over the place, and we just have to sit there and go, it just knocked the wind out of him. But again, the action movie fan in me is like, yes, of course it's possible.
I feel like the nice thing about 1 and 2 is that there's nothing as like holy crap as him falling off a building. Like, the worst you get is like sideswiped by a car, and it's like other people are surviving side swipes from cars, so I guess we'll be okay with that.
This movie goes all out in terms of set pieces, all out in terms of action.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, but what I think it does well is it builds tension in really cool ways.
Mm-hmm.
There is a scene that involves a stairway that
this is towards the end of the movie.
Yeah. And I'm only bringing it up now because, again, these are things that the movie does well.
Yeah,
it uses action to tell a story, and without going into it, those who've seen it know. If you're watching and you haven't, it's not giving anything away. The way in which a particular scene plays out gets you to a point as an audience member where you're like, and then it just deflates you. But you're like, God damn it. And you're okay with it because, it just does some really unique things that way.
And Juan mentioned something. So Juan says, you can't tell me that he walked up enough momentum to fall down all those stairs. And the answer is he certainly did not. However, that was an intentionally funny part of the movie. Like that got a laugh from the audience. It was meant to get a laugh from the audience. The idea that he rolled down all those steps, it was intentionally funny.
In my viewing,
and I think that's okay.
At my showing, the crowd reaction on that part was so awesome because everybody, almost to a person, almost you heard, oh fuck, like
right.
It was so great to hear these reactions.
But you skipped a lot. Like
no, I did. I was just saying that was my
okay.
example of how this film, as big as it was, used action to move story.
Sure.
You know, by this point they figured out how that needs to go.
Yes.
So, but go ahead, please take us back.
And they also have found ways to take action and just present it in ways that are brand new. And yes, so the entire third act basically is John Wick needs to get from the Eiffel Tower to Sacre-Cœur. Now, take a pause here. Anybody who's ever been to Paris knows that the Eiffel Tower is no fucking where near Sacre-Cœur.
Okay.
And Sacre-Cœur is literally as far away from anything in Paris as you could possibly be. And so John Wick, there's a really, really, really cool scene where and they foreshadow it in the trailer, so I'm not giving anything away, where John Wick is meeting up with the not the Merovingian, what
the Marquis?
The Marquis, thank you. Is meeting with the Marquis setting up the duel. Okay. Right. He's setting up the duel with the Marquis. And there's a really cool scene where like it's very judicious and very serious. And it's like, okay, we're going to be picking, what time are we meeting? Where are we meeting? Blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
John Wick.
I loved that scene.
Yeah, it's a fantastic scene, except John Wick has, it's like saying I'm taking a short drive to El Paso. There's nowhere in the world you could be that's a short drive to El Paso other than Jalisco, and that's it. Like if you're either in Jalisco or El Paso, or you're just nowhere near Jalisco or El Paso. So that's it. Forget it. Anyway, excellent point there from Juan.
For one, yeah.
It literally is that. It's like saying, let's do this on Sacre-Cœur is like saying, being in Dallas and being like, yeah, let's just fucking go to El Paso. It's like, what the fuck are you talking about? We're not going to fucking El Paso. That's out of the way from everything. And Sacre-Cœur, well, awesome visually. I feel like John Wick would be a little smarter than to say, hey, let's go the fuck up to Sacre-Cœur, because how the fuck are you going to get up there, John Wick? You know that you have to know that there's just no other, there's like maybe three spots in Paris that you're going to pick because they're super public and you can get there really fucking easily. And
it's the only place that had the necessary tables for the girls.
No, yeah, I understand. Okay. You're not picking something on the top of a fucking hill. You're just not. Right. Like it's like as soon as he said that, I was like, what is he thinking? Why is he picking Sacre-Cœur? Like,
I take it you've been there.
I have been there.
Okay, so you have such a better frame of reference for that, because to me, I was like, okay, and the way they made it seem in the film, it was like, oh, it was right there.
I have walked from the Eiffel Tower to the Arc de Triomphe. That's a long fucking walk, and you're not even halfway to Sacre-Cœur yet, and you have to go straight up fucking hill. Yeah. You're not doing it's way the fuck out of the way from everything.
It's a movie.
So I
know, I'm just
look, I understand it's a movie. It's a really smart franchise. That
I love that you have this context though.
Yes, it's a really smart franchise that has John Wick does one dumb thing in the third movie, his first dumb thing he does. Like one dumb thing he did in 2 is at the end of 2, understandable. I get it.
Right.
That was the first dumb thing he did, but passion, I understand.
Sure.
He does a dumb thing in 3, which is go to Casablanca, and I've already riffed on that. And then he opens 4 by doing a dumb thing by going back to Casablanca, and not only dumb but pointless. Why?
Right.
And now he's doing it's just like my problem with 4, and why I can definitely say without any hesitation it's 1 and 2, and now it's 1 and 2, and then it's 3 and 4. Which, by the way, amazing, better than 99% of the movies out there.
Yeah.
3 and 4, but there are problems with 4, and my problem with 4, unlike Juan's, whose problems are he's falling off buildings and surviving, my problems are now we have John Wick making dumb decisions, and dumb decision 1 is not his most dumb decision is picking Sacré-Cœur for the location of this thing.
I love it.
Because you can't get up there. You cannot get up there.
Oh man.
You can see it from everywhere in Paris. Like, and no matter where you are in Paris, you always know where Sacré-Cœur is because it's on the top of a giant fucking hill. Yeah. I mean, have you been to LA?
A long time ago.
Okay.
Yeah.
It would be like being in downtown Los Angeles and being like, yeah, we're going to meet up at the Hollywood sign.
Okay.
Like,
okay. I got you.
Got you. Why would you do that? Like, there's nothing up there, and it's really far away and hard to get to.
I'll be there in June, and so I'll verify that. No, so before, still so much more we can talk about. So let me please ask you, we have to talk about Donnie Yen. And we have to talk about, I forget the gentleman's name who played the other assassin.
He's so good.
Let's put those 2 characters in a movie, please.
Yeah.
I mean, I want to know so much more. I felt like one of them was probably not necessary, but I really enjoyed.
Jameer Anderson is his name.
Thank you.
Way. Yeah.
I enjoy. See, it's weird because on one hand, I'm like, did we really need this character?
We did not. But he's fucking amazing.
Really fucking loved it, and so I hope we get some sort of spin-off because I want to know more about this guy. But Donnie
he's the one. Donnie Yen is a national treasure, an international treasure
in this film.
Yeah, and he's blind again, which fans of Star Wars Rogue One will know. Blind Donnie Yen is just as good, if not better, than sightseeing everybody.
Such a treat to have those 2 characters.
Oh my god, Donnie Yen.
Yeah.
I mean, but the one scene that we haven't talked about.
We have. I hope we're on the same page here. Go ahead.
Yes, it's the gauntlet scene.
Yes.
And I call it the gauntlet scene, not because he has to run a gauntlet, which he does, but because it's basically shot like the video game Gauntlet from 1990s, or was that 80s? Dear God. Anyway, I think it's 80s, late 80s. Anyway, it is late 80s. It's amazing. And it's almost like maybe it was filmed using drones, and then I don't know how they did it. Like, let's just be on it. Let's just be clear here. I don't know how they did that. I'm going to assume for a moment it was filmed with drones, and it's up above, and you see John Wick going through rooms of a very elegant house that's being renovated at the time. And so it's empty, but it's beautiful. And like, the angle it's shot from, and it's so good.
As that scene played out, I was like, please don't let this end. Please don't let this scene end. I could have done 5 more minutes of that scene.
Yeah. Like,
and it was lengthy. One of the things that this movie did, and hence its runtime, is it took its time. It wasn't slow.
Right.
It took its time.
Right.
And that's a classic example. That scene is a classic example.
Yeah.
If it was drones, it'll be the second time that we have seen effective use of drones in a film.
Not the second time. I mean,
again, for myself would be confirmed that yes, that was right. The other one was the Michael Bay film, where
Ambulance. Yes, for sure.
Yeah.
Whatchamacallit, the World War I movie this past year. All Quiet on the Western Front.
Okay, I didn't know.
There was a lot of it won cinematography because of its drone work.
Okay, got it.
I
didn't. But if this was drones, Wow. This scene, I'm not going to keep repeating what you just said, but I will say that this will go down as one of the most amazing action scenes in this guy's opinion.
For sure.
Across the history of me watching action movies. I agree. Loved it, and I could not wait to hear your thoughts on it, Paul.
This was Matrix 1 level. Oh my God, this is amazing.
Right.
Like, I didn't know this could be this cool. You know, like, and that's what it was.
Plus the gun he was using.
What's that?
Plus the gun he was using.
Well,
that was just ridiculous. I loved it.
The fire gun thing. I loved. I appreciated that they gave us a sneak preview on that too. Like that wasn't just like they sprung it on us. It was
all I know is that when he shot the first guy that he lit on fire with it.
Yeah, he was like,
I was like, the whole theater was like, whoa, what the, and then it kept happening, and we were like, you could tell the tension in the room was like, do it again, like
right.
So great. These action sequences had everybody in this theater vocalizing how they were feeling. That's what I love about movies like this. And this was the first time in quite a while that I was sitting in a semi-crowded theater. You could hear people's reactions, and you could tell people were just having so much fun.
Yes.
And it was great. It was great. Being in that environment. Great.
It was fantastic. Once he picked Sakura and made that mistake, I was like, all right, well, this is the shit storm that he created on his own. Let's see him do this.
Oh man, my favorite part of this discussion tonight is realizing how you have such a unique context for that. Because
anybody who's been to Paris, been to Paris and tried to get to Sakura would have the exact same fucking reaction that I have. Anybody, so much. Anybody who's been to Paris and tried to get to Sakura would be like, "Why the fuck is he going there?" Like, fuck that shit.
I love it. Oh my gosh, that makes it so much better now that I know that.
Oh my goodness.
All in all, I had a lot of fun with this movie. I really did. In fact, I've had time to think about it, and you've seen me do this before where I'm like, I was thinking this, but then I thought about it.
Yeah.
When Paul, I'm not gonna lie to you. When I left this theater, it was like 10:30 at night. I was going in my car, and I'm like, that is a 5. I was like 5 plus guac. But then I had to sit down and think about it.
Yeah.
So I have a score.
I want to wait before you do that.
Okay,
I want to add to the Sakura thing.
Oh yeah,
because the funny thing is that Ian McShane and Lawrence Fishburne drop John Wick off. They get him closer to where he needs to be.
Right.
And when he emerges from they're using like an underground canal type of thing. Yeah. And when he emerges from where he is and he's at the Eiffel Tower, I literally thought to myself when that happened, I was like, oh, well, thanks for fucking nothing, Larry. Dude.
I love it.
No, you're not only are you super far away, you're on the wrong fucking side of the river. What? you can't just get me to the other side of the river at least. Anyway,
this would have been totally lost on me forever if we didn't have this show.
No, yeah,
that's so great.
Okay, but enough of that. And when I here's the thing is, so let's rate all 3 before we'll flash our rating for 4 before, but let's rate all 3. So you want me to go? Like I'll do.
We're gonna start with 1.
Yeah, 1.
Okay. All right. Let me do this real first. So we're gonna rate John Wick 1.
Yes.
For me, I'm gonna go 4 because again, I love pure action. This was, and I know it's a high place to start.
Yeah. For me, it's 5.
Okay.
All right. I was like all in. I'm like, holy shit, this movie's perfect. Like this is what I want.
I'm loving it. I like it. I'm happy.
Okay.
All right. So that's our thoughts on Wick 1. So Wick 2.
Yeah.
For me, again, I felt like it improved each time. So now I'm at 4+ guac.
Okay.
Because again, I love the narrative movement and the just that montage scene alone gets the guac.
Right.
So
I am still at 5. I almost want to go 5+ guac, but it's I don't know why I'm not giving a guac, but I'm at 5 again. Like gotcha. Chapters 1 and 2 are just so close to each other. I can't give it extra guac.
Okay.
But yeah, I love it. 5,
that makes sense. 2, you get to 3.
Yes.
For me, I'm still at 4+ guac with this film because again, it got bigger, and I like bigger when it comes to action movies.
So I'm also a 4+ guac, and I'm saying that because I did bag on the second act, but in the moment, the second act is a lot of fun. Like
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying that it's not fun. Like it's a fun experience to watch. It's only when the movie's over, you're like, why
Was it
the
really
fuck
needed?
did he do that? Like,
Yeah.
so. But in the moment, it's like, oh my God, this is fantastic. Yes.
Gotcha. All right, that makes sense.
Yeah.
So we get to 4, and our thoughts. Let me take that down. Sorry.
Oh, I was done. Okay.
So we get to 4.
Yeah.
And like I said, as I walked out of the theater, I was going to go 5+ guac.
Oh wow.
All the way.
Okay.
I was just because I was so hyped up.
Yeah.
But as I've thought about it, I have to be for myself. I have to say, okay, this one is again 4+ guac. I wanted it to be 5, Paul. I really was ready to give it 5 tacos.
Yeah.
But once I thought about it, I was like, there's some really incredulous things happening here that even an action movie lover like me has to say,
yeah,
not quite. So yeah, it's close to 5, very close to 5. Like, this is great guac.
I was at 4 throughout the movie until the gauntlet scene, and then the gauntlet scene was like, okay, I'll give you guac.
Okay.
Like,
no, that makes sense.
You literally had something I've never seen in a movie before and will always think of and will love for the rest of my life. You get guac. So yeah, it's 4+ guac for me.
Gotcha. All right. No, it's a hell of a romp.
Oh my God.
I really hope. I talked to a friend of mine today who was like, she's like, how was 4? And I was like, it was great. And she's like, well, I hate to say this, but I've never seen any of them. I said, take time and watch them.
Yeah.
You'll enjoy them. And then
do not just go to 4. Like, just
no. Oh God. Like, why would you start at the end of the book?
And like, Sergio and I are huge on, hey, just go see movies. Don't go see 4 if you haven't seen 1, 2, and 3.
You need to
just
see 1, 2, and 3.
Spend the time. You've got like 3 weeks before it'll start to become difficult to find in movies in theaters. John Wick will be around for a while. It absolutely demolished in the theaters, and poor Shazam. Oh my God.
No, it's
oh well.
Yeah. Oh well is right. So so there you go. That's our look this week at the John Wick franchise.
Yes.
We encourage you, watch the entire series. Don't cut any of them out. You can find them all. Well, I bought them, so I saw them on Prime. But they're out there, so make sure. I think HBO Max has them. I could be wrong, but yeah, go find them, check them out, and then go see Chapter 4. I mean, it's in the titles, guys. Follow the order. Like,
yeah.
So,
except for the first one does not say Chapter 1.
No, it doesn't.
That would be rather pretentious to,
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I won't say more about the post-credit scene other than I don't think it was necessary. So, and Marvel has made me hate post-credit scenes. So
interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
But their post-credit scenes are usually important and necessary. Okay. All right. We won't have that conversation.
Not after
we've already spoke. We went 58 minutes on John Wick.
Yeah. Hey, I'm okay with that. All right. Well, that gives us the opportunity to go to one of the best segments in podcasts around. What the hell did I just watch? I have to tell you, Paul, I read the blurb when you told me the title, and I was like, ooh, okay.
So
making
his inaugural appearance in What the Hell Did I Just Watch, and probably not the last appearance, is Ingmar Bergman this week with his 1968, I believe. 66. Thank you. 1966 thriller. I don't know. Drama. I don't know how to exactly qualify this one, but it's his movie Persona. And just to kind of give you an idea of what this movie is have you seen Single White Female?
Yes.
Okay. It's basically Single White Female for like intelligent people. Like it's a thinking man's
it's
a thinking man's Single White Female. It watches Single White Female. It's like, ooh, that's not my child, is it? Like, seriously. And this is one of those movies where it's like, I actually watched it with the intent thinking like, I want to get Ingmar Bergman in on What the Hell Did I Just Watch? And I finished and I was like, that's not quite weird enough. Because it's not super weird. Like, I'm just gonna be like, it really is an exploration of what happens when two people spend a lot of time together. Okay. And the inciting incident here is that there is a very famous actress, okay, who we find at the very beginning of the movie, we find out like just has lost the ability to speak. Okay. And is being treated in a sanitarium type of hospital type of thing. And the doctor believes what she needs is isolation. Like she needs to get out of the city. She needs, and so the doctor assigns this brand new nurse to go with her to keep her company. Okay, at the doctor's lake house out, up in the hills of Norway. And so I think it's Norway. Shit. Anyway, it's Scandinavia. We'll just say up in the lakes of Scandinavia.
Gotcha.
And so the first interesting thing here is that the one of the key leads, who doesn't utter a single word the entire movie, it is an actress. Okay, so you get the one of the layers of this movie is, if you spend your time pretending to be other people, who are you? Like, and it really, really explores that. And that's how she loses. Like, it really is an existential exploration of self and of, and that's the idea, is that the actress losing her voice is very symbolic of, she's not just lost her voice, she's lost who she is. Okay. Gotcha. And she slowly, like, while you watch them together, the nurse just is a chatterbox. Okay. And so she just talks and talks and talks and talks. And she tells her all these really fascinating, extremely personal and uncomfortable stories. Like, literally, you're like, oh, don't tell that story. Not to anybody. Like, this is not a story you tell to anybody. Like, wow. No, bad story, bad. Okay. But she tells them anyway. And it's like, oh my God. And so at the beginning, it starts out where you get this feeling that the actress is taking on the nurse's personality a little bit. But then as the movie goes on, like, it almost transforms into, actually, no, it's the opposite. And there are awesome little nuggets and lines that are dropped throughout the movie about, where somebody will say, oh, well, of course we're friends. We're so similar. And there's just like these awesome, it is such a perfect film. It's just, it's amazing. I highly recommend it. It was on HBO Max. I think it just left. It might still be there, but look for it. It's so good. It really is. It's not a thriller in the sense of, oh my gosh, somebody's in trouble. Like, you never feel like anybody's in trouble, but it's also with, like, physical trouble, but mental trouble constantly. Everybody's constantly in mental trouble in this movie. Yeah. And in that sense, it's just a really unique experience, because you just don't get that. Like, with thrillers, there's always that physical element. You never feel like, oh my gosh, this person's like in danger. Physically, but mentally, these people are both in major danger, and it's fascinating. It's just an absolute unpackaging of self-identity that is unbelievable. Nice. I can't possibly recommend a movie more. Wow,
I will have to check it out. Absolutely.
It's Persona. So good. Oh my goodness.
All right. Well, I'll be looking forward to checking that out, and you should be looking forward to finding out what Paul's watching week to week for his "What the Hell Did I Just Watch" segment. So make sure you stop on by and build up your library of weirdness.
For sure.
Absolutely. All right. Well, gosh, Paul, I am looking forward to next week starting my new segment. I don't yet have a name for it. Okay. The name you suggested did not meet with approval. So, well, we're still working on it, but this is going to be several weeks of movies recommended by my wife, because, again, we're so different in what we like. Okay. And these are films, and they're not from like far back necessarily. Some are, some aren't. Mm-hmm. It's just films she's seen that, I now am going to place myself into the position to watch them. So
great.
I'll start getting you titles here very soon. to get ready, because we will have the first one next week.
Right.
And I just need to get the list from her. I'm still waiting for the list.
Awesome.
So.
I am vetoing Jen's picks. Like, it's not going to be anything that, no, it's not going to be Jen's picks. It's not going to be Jen's picks. The title of your segment.
No, that'd be too simple. That'd be too simple.
I understand. I'm just letting you know now.
I want to call it "She Made Me Watch It." No,
that's fine. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, we'll figure it out. We'll probably get to the end of it without ever having decided. But at the end of the day, it's going to be another way for me to expand my scope of movies that I have not seen. So, all right. Well, with that in mind, we'll look forward to next week. Dungeons and Dragons will be released this coming weekend. We'll be talking about it next week.
Yeah.
And you said there might be some
all-game episode.
Titles.
We're doing Dungeons and Dragons and Tetris. So.
Oh, that's right. That'll be our game-related episode. Yeah, cool. I like that. All right. Well, Paul, it's been fun, like always.
Yeah, it'll be interesting because the next movie based on a game that I see that's good will be the first movie based on a game I see that's good.
Oh, okay. There you go.
Woo!
And then we have Super Mario Brothers coming out. How are you feeling about that as you see the trailer?
I don't have any interest in seeing that movie.
Wow. Okay.
Just
that. Well, there you go.
My son has thankfully aged out of having to see everything animated, and that looks like just a really basic animated movie. Like, look, I didn't see Rise of Gru. Okay, unapologetically, I didn't see Rise of Gru.
Here's why I'm interested in it.
Okay,
because I now get it. Like because I was never exposed to those games, but now as I've been deeper and down the rabbit hole of gaming, it's like
you want to know how to do stuff based on games. Just go watch the one that you do with the other show, and it's amazing. And frig, that was The Last of Us. Oh my god.
Oh, got it. Yeah.
Why can't movies do things that TVs do?
Well, sometimes. More time. First of all, more time.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. All right. Well, we'll look forward to next week's show. So make sure you stop on by. Paul, as always, thank you for all the work you do for this.
Oh, and Nick Kramer is coming in with the heat, saying Super Mario Brothers is going to make $1 billion. No chance, Nick Kramer. No chance.
Oh man, I'm looking forward to this. I'm looking forward to this.
No way. Hold on.
Paul in disbelief.
No.
Yeah. Hey, I am now even more so looking forward to the numbers. And we will record reactions as they happen. So we'll see what that opening weekend looks like, and then we'll go from there. Okay. All right. Well,
the Lion King, Frozen 2 made $1.4 billion. The first Frozen made $1.3 billion. The Lion King remake made $1.6 billion, which I'm not even I barely. Incredibles 2 made 1.2, Minions made 1.1, Toy Story 4 made 1, Toy Story 3 made 1, Zootopia made 1. It's not. It doesn't have.
I don't know, though. The name value alone, Paul.
No.
Okay.
No.
Well, make sure you tune in because you're going to see if what Paul thinks is definitely the also doesn't have the social cachet of Mario.
It has so more. Just because you didn't play the Frozen video game doesn't mean that little girls everywhere didn't want their princess.
Oh man,
come on.
Oh man. All right. Well, we will look forward, and maybe we'll have. Maybe when it does hit the billion mark, we'll have Nick on for a few moments, and
it's going to look. It's going to do great. I'm not saying it's not going to do great. I please don't. This is not me saying it's not going to do great. This is me saying it's not going to do $1 billion. All right.
Okay.
It's going to land. I'll tell you where it'll land. I mean, I guess it could land around 700 if it does amazing. And that is Shrek Forever Madagascar 3. It's more likely based off of today's sort of where we are in the world of cinema right now. It's probably 500 million, which is going to be great. It's going to do great. Right. It will do fantastic.
All right. This is exciting.
$1 billion is ridiculous. That's silly.
Okay. Well, stay tuned.
Yeah.
We'll soon find out.
Yeah.
All right. All right. Well, then there you go. We'll get ready for Dungeons and Dragons next week. Tetris as well on Apple Plus. Come back to tell or to see what we thought, and then share your thoughts. Until then, we always remind you, you are awesome, you're amazing, and the world's a better place because you are in it. We will see you next time on Real to Real Talk. Have a good night, everybody.